guy's not
physical movement.
understanding it, bro. I'm
Wait,
really
no, no,
What
he's
are you
correct. That's
talking
how
about?
all right.
epophenomenalism works.
So listen, the reasons in which they conflict is because in epiphenomenalism, mental states do not cause physical events; they are byproducts. But mental states in functionalism are defined by their causal role in the system.
What are you talking about? Okay, so I want you to repeat that sentence to me back and tell me if that disagrees with literally anything I said.
Okay, I'm saying the reason in which these two views are going to be incompatible is because,
Mm-hmm.
as per epiphenomenalism, right, mental states do not
Mm-hmm.
cause physical events; they're simply byproducts. But for functionalism, mental states are defined by their causal role in the system, i.e., what they cause index to these physical
Okay, so
events.
what your argument is stating is that any sort of physical event, as in something going on with your body, are caused by prior physical events, as in things that happen within your brain. Do you agree with this? Yes or no?
Bro, hold on, my whole phone is fried. One moment.
Nigga's phone blew up, bro. He's gonna blow up, bro. All right, bro.
Wait, you can use the cup analogy if you try explain epophenomenalism that most people use.
I'm gonna just save the image just in case if he tries to disagree with this shit, bro. Like it's like right fucking in premise one, bro.
All right, bro.
You
What are
just
you
use the
saying?
cup analogy.
Okay, great. So do you agree? Do you agree that your argument is, for premise one at least, is saying that any sort of physical or all physical events, like your body movement, excuse me, or something, you know, that happens in your body, is caused by some prior physical event, and that
Yeah.
being something that happens within your brain, like a neurofiring in the
Yeah.
brain. Okay, great. So now, how is this not compatible with functionalism if the functionalist view just says that the system, the entire thing, is just input and output based? In the same sense as that the output could literally just be your entire body moving, and the input being something happening in your brain, as in some neural firing in the brain. How is this incompatible?
Because what you're saying is like, okay, so you're saying there's an input output relation, but the issue is that epiphenomenalism just denies the whole idea of this input output thing. It just says mental states are a
No, it
byproduct.
doesn't.
There's no idea for the causal, like, I guess these kind
Wait,
of things being
premise
connected
one literally
cause effect.
establishes that. Wait, premise one literally establishes that physical events are caused by prior physical events. That's literally input and output based. If I say
Yes,
the output is just all physical events and the input is like neural firings in the brain, then that's the same thing as an input and output system. What are you talking about?
but you're saying that these said, I guess, fucking mental states or whatever can cause things, I guess, physically. The whole thing is epiphenomenalism is just denying that said mental states are going to be causing anything physically. They're just going to be a byproduct of what's already caused.
So, okay, great. So, by physically, you mean what? They cause things physically. What does that mean?
Um, I mean, do you know what physical means?
Can you answer my question, or is this just a clarifying question? because
Yeah,
because
it should.
whether or not because we can just go under any definition of physicalism for physical for right now, but I don't think it's like relevant at all. Because I can just
Uh,
say that something is physical if and only if it exists in space.
wait. If and only if it exists in space, you said.
Yeah, if it exists outside of space, I don't think it's
Wait,
physical.
wait, yeah. So, okay, that I guess. Wait, what do you mean by exist in space? As in, like, fucking.
So what space? You know what space is, right? Space is the type of thing which occupies, an area. So
Yep.
anything which exists in that specific area is the type of thing which is physical, but anything that exists outside of that area is the thing which is non-physical. So say if I
Oh,
take
okay, okay.
a box takes up a space. Okay, right.
Yeah. So that definition is fine. Now, what functionalism is aiming to say, or functionalism is trying to say, is that said mental states are going to have some kind of precedent in insofar as like some kind of
Can you repeat
existence.
that? Sorry, I was
Yeah.
a little
So
mute. Can you repeat
what
that?
what functionalism is aiming to say is that these things are going to have some kind of precedent insofar as existence on this plane in which you previously mentioned, right?
Something's
But
gonna
what
have a precedent. You said?
a precedent.
Yeah, it's gonna have a precedent about what? Sorry, my
Yeah,
fault.
yeah. But what epiphenomenalism is aiming to say is that it doesn't have any kind of physical precedent. It just happens to be like some kind of metaphysical
So
byproduct
we've
of
gotten
said
back to
things.
the
Wait,
same place.
listen. Of said,
Truth, you
of
haven't
said.
gotten anywhere. We haven't gotten anywhere. What I asked you
Mhm.
is when we say physical, right? When it says that any physical thing, like it doesn't have any sort of causal effect on something that's physical, any physical thing. What does that mean? Because premise one establishes that it does have an effect on something which is physical, but the other premises are denying that it has the effects on something that's physical, and that's what you're saying as well. So when it says it doesn't have an effect on things which is physical, what are you meaning, and what is your premises meaning when you say that?
Yeah. So
Physical actions.
when
You mean
yeah,
by
what
physical
you
actions?
all right. So when you describe things have or things to be physical as in something that exists in like some fucking plane in which you talk about, right? I'm just saying that what I'm positing is that this kind of construct or whatever wouldn't have any effect or output pertaining to anything in this prescribed
What,
physical
bro?
construct.
My fault, bro. You said what?
Bro, all right, yeah, yeah. This fucking whatever the fuck, it doesn't have anything to do with like physical things by what you said. So, for example, like a mental state or
So,
whatever isn't going to be directly
so it doesn't
correlated or
have
have an
anything to
effect
do.
on my
Okay,
brain.
it doesn't have anything. So what's premise one establishing? Is premise two just a deniement of premise one, or no?
Is premise two a You said is premise two a
Yeah.
denial of premise one?
Yeah, is premise is premise two a negation of premise one?
No,
Okay, great. So do you agree that there has effects on physical things, right?
no, I don't. I disagree
Okay,
that
so
that
premise one establishes that there's effect on physical things, but premise two is not a negation of premise one, but you also think that there's no physical thing that it has an effect on?
Oh,
What?
okay, okay. I like
What the fuck?
to get it straight. I think you're very confused. So when they
Uh
say
huh.
like brains firing or neurons firing, it would only be the
No,
case
that's not what I'm
that
talking about
these
with the
two.
effect. I'm talking
Wait,
about the first part of premise one. The effect is the all the physical events like muscle movements. That's the effect.
yeah, okay.
Huh?
Now,
Yeah.
when they talk about prior physical events as well, right? They also mention things like neurons firing in the brain, neurons firing in the brain, right? So now, when you say that, oh yeah, premise two going to be some kind of denial of premise one, no, it's not that case, or it's not the case that it is, and it's not the case that what I'm saying can only coexist with it being some kind of denial. What I'm saying is that they're not using like the term, I guess, brains or neurons in the brains to be synonymous with these said mental states.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm gonna just reread the entire argument because apparently premise one is establishing something talking about the brain, but the mental states specific, which are part of the brain, by the way. Mental states are just some separate thing, like the mind.
Mental states are some separate thing, yeah.
Okay, so you're positing a form of. Okay, so there's.
Immaterialism.
Okay, so okay, great. So that's all we had to be clear on in the first place, right? So premise one is establishing that there's a brain. Premise two is establishing there's a mind, and that these mind do not have any causal power over physical events. They are caused by brain activity, but do not cause anything themselves. So, by the way, so what this is establishing is that the mind, like pain or desire from the mind, which is apparently you're establishing is immaterial, is being caused by something which is physical, but that is being the brain, right? Because it says that they do not have any causal power. Like pain or desire does not have any causal power over physical events. They are caused by brain activity, but not cause anything themselves. So they themselves are caused, but they do not cause anything else, right? And by the way, so the cause would be the input, the effect would be the mental states, and the mental states would just be pain and desire being plenished right here, and the causement is just would be the neurons firing or some shit like that in the brain state, because what it's establishing is that the brain, they're like the mental states are relying on the brain, but the mental states itself doesn't cause anything, which is completely fine. A functionalist could agree with that.
But wait, so if you don't think that the mental states cause anything, but you're saying there's going to be some kind of input-output reaction,
You're
does
confused with what I
functionalism?
mean by that.
Wait. Listen, does functionalism only posit that these mental states be an output?
No, what it posits is that there must be an input output system. That's what it posits. And whether or not, okay, the output could be the mental states, that's completely fine. There just must be an input. And the input would literally just be the entire, like, that's why I was saying this for you the entire time. The input would literally just be the brain. The brain is causing causing the mental states to happen, but the mental states aren't causing anything else. That's fine. There's an input output relation between that. The brain fires like the neuron things, right? So that's the input. The output is the mental states, which is pain or desire, right? Like
Okay,
that's the
hold
thing
on.
that's positive.
Yeah, so all right, so you're just saying that functionalism is only going to be positing that these mental states can be an output or an output.
In your argument, the mental states would be the output, yes. But functionalism itself is not saying the mental states are outputs. The functionalism,
Oh, okay, okay. Now the issue would arise when
functionalism,
wait, 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 wait,
functionalism
wait,
is
wait, wait,
saying
wait, wait,
this.
wait, wait, wait,
It's
wait,
saying
wait,
that.
wait, wait, wait.
What?
Now the issue would arise when my thing is only positing the idea that such things can be outputs or epiphenomenalism. That is what I mean by my thing, right? But your little functionalism thing is positing that these things can be inputs as well as outputs, which will just make the two views incompatible.
Sorry, what you saying? What, bro?
Okay, so well, once again, epiphenomenalism is positing that these mental states can only arise as outputs. But your view functionalism is positing the idea that fucking they can be inputs as well as outputs. So the two
I have a
views are
question
No,
very
for you. Well, I have a
no,
question.
bro.
Well, I have a
I
question.
just
I have
said,
a simple question.
hold on, Ryan. I literally just said,
Oh,
bro, who the fuck was that in your background saying, what's the question? All right, bro. But look,
that might be mine, but you can keep on.
but I'm gonna
Ryan.
keep it real. Listen, I'm gonna keep it real. Shh, bro. So listen, I've explained this like 5 fucking times now, bro. Like I think this might just be a tracking error on your part. What I've said is that the functionalist view does not posit specifically just that the mental states have to be an input and output system. What it posits is that there must be an input and output system that's relevant, and that could be either in the brain or the mind, or it can be conjunction of the two. That's completely fine as long as there is a fucking input and output relation. That's all that it needs to be. Maybe this is not what the literature says, but this is what my view posits. This is what the functionalist view posits. This is my view of
Oh,
functionalism.
okay.
I
So,
take it that's true. Yes.
uh,
So it can be a conjunction of the two.
all right. So the functionalism view that you're holding is just that independently of what said inputs and outputs are, as long as there is an input and output in any sense of the word, then it's functionalism.
Yes, bro. So in any
Yeah, I
case,
don't. All right, so yeah, then I would just say you're using the term incorrectly.
so I'm using my own term incorrectly.
I mean, the view in which you're positing is something in which is, I guess, posited also
So
by
wait,
literature
do
that's
you not
supposed to.
think that? Okay, so do you? Okay, so I'm wrong by the literature. Okay, great. So let me ask you a question. How do people form their own views?
People form their own views by, I guess, creating something that doesn't like one to like, or actually, I don't. Yeah, one to one align with like said literature. Yeah.
How did functionalism get created if there was no literature? You know, did like make okay? So this is really weird, right? Because there's different types of functionalism, right? Like there's type A functionalism, there's type B functionalism. Wait, how are those views made?
Yeah,
They're made by the
just a.
literature, right? They're made by the literature, right?
Uh, I mean, a brand new person made them, and they're posited to
Okay,
be
great.
like
So then, what makes
actual.
me
Wait,
different
wait,
from that
listen.
brand new person? Do I
And
have to write a paper on it?
do you have to write a paper on it? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
uh, low key for it to be considered like some kind of actual view, maybe possibly. But even if
No,
I were to
like
say, wait, wait, listen.
what makes
Even if I
something an actual view? Because
wait,
if
wait,
someone
wait,
like
listen.
because that's like saying this. Well, you're incorrect about the liter. You're saying like if you compare type A and type B functionalism, you're like, oh well, like
Huh?
well type A functionalists are using the term functionalism differently. Or like they're using it incorrectly because it's a type A like view of functionalism. I'm like, what, bro? Obviously
Nah,
not.
so okay. So what I mean is like. I don't really think that you should have went down, or with me at least, some kind of rabbit hole that I'm just under the idea that you're just using some kind of base like functionalism view that's already been posited or known to be right. I think that
It's your fault for that's
when
your
you
fault for
wait,
assuming that, bro.
no, I don't think so. We can end the rec after this, but I would just say that yeah, I think that this is most likely going to be the case when people invoke certain philosophical views, right, that are already made without said specification. Then obviously, anyone with a brain is going to operate under the idea that they're positing whatever philosophical
Yeah,
view
that's your
is being
fault. That's your
established.
fault for
Wait,
assuming
hold
that,
on.
bro. You
Are
didn't
y'all
get
still
clear on
debating?
that. You never asked for clarity on what my view establishes.
I mean,
Yo,
Actually, and plus, I've made it clear in the rec several times what my view establishes. Even in the introduction to the rec, I've made it clear that when I say I'm a functionalist, I'm saying that I take it that there must be an input and output relationship. And I'm never saying that, well, the input and output relationship has to be dependent upon whether or not there's a brain, there's a mind, or like anything like that. Mine just says, well, if there's an input and output relationship, well, then, between the brain or the conjunction of the brain and the mind, or if it's just the mind, well, then, yeah, it's functional. It's like a function.
What do you mean
Yeah,
by
yeah.
That's
infinite
the
I mean,
output?
definition.
Wait,
it's just gonna be some It's just gonna be some idiosyncratic definition. Like I don't
Do you
really
believe
care to.
that's idiosyncratic? What is
Uh,
functionalism positive?
just that there's a input and output insofar as like it works in
it's
these specific
boring.
way, operates and works in these specific ways. Yeah, but anyways, I
Should
mean,
we
Sure.
discuss now too?
for one, the definition that you gave me it
Not
wouldn't
you.
be incompatible